The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
I'll tell you another credible story. There's a guy from BGX who he grew up in Trumpville. I'm going to say that word, Trump. Yeah, it's okay. He grew up in Trump Village, which is like right near Brighton, and he was totally secular. Didn't keep anything of Judaism. Nothing. He changed his entire life around, became observant and amazing. He was one of my BGX heroes. Amazing fellow. So a few months ago, his father-in-law died. His father-in-law was not religious, although his wife, of course, is religious. His father-in-law was secular, and there was no one to say Kaddish. Who's going to say Kaddish? So he, even though it's a big commitment, because it means you got to be at 3 minyanim a day, by hook or by crook. You know, your most favorite baseball game could be playing, I don't know what it is, and you could, have this going on and that going on. You got to be at those minyanim 3 times a day. You got to say the Kaddish. And for him to say the Kaddish is not so easy because he learned Hebrew later in life and he has to basically, stutter it. But he said, I'm going to do it. He went against his nature and he stood apart and he became unique. He was Kodesh. And then one day he has to go out onto Long Island and he goes to this town on Long Island and he realizes it's the late afternoon, Shkia, sunset's coming. He's got to get a minyan. He's got to say Kaddish for his father-in-law. So he goes to a shul. It's an Orthodox shul. And of course, they'll have a mincha minyan. And he sees a sign that says, mincha minyan is a rotation, weekly rotation. Sometimes it's here. Sometimes it's in another synagogue, another shul, whatever. So it advises him to go to the other place. Now, by the time he has to get there, remember, it's not near, next door. So he's got to get into his car. He's got to fight traffic. He's looking at his clock and his watch, and he's hyperventilating. He's got to get there in time before sunset. Sunset's coming, the stress, anxiety. I got to say that Kaddish. Otherwise, my father-in-law is going to, what's he going to do? He's already, So he finally pulls up by that other, place, the other shul, and he's like, oh, thank God. Parking lot's full. There's going to be a great minyan here. Wow. He runs into the shul and he hears a whole commotion. He hears a whole bunch of voices. He's like, wow, I hope they didn't start yet. And he hears somebody announcing B52. Oh. Okay, so, some shuls, they announce the page numbers, right? And then he hears A12 and 31. He's like, what? He looks inside. He sees men and women sitting there and they're playing bingo. And there's a chairman who's standing up there. He's pulling out, announcing the things. He's like, that's why the parking lot's full. That's what they're all doing here. I got that mincha. I have 2.5 minutes left. He runs up to the podium where the chairman's standing, and he says to him, I got to talk to you. It's an emergency. The guy's like, what? Someone's in cardiac arrest? What's going on? He's like, no, but I got to daven mincha. He says, listen, this is very important. Bingo. We're in the middle of a bingo game. He says, it's important? He says, yeah, otherwise the synagogue can't survive. That's how we make our money. We have to pay utilities. We have to pay rent. We have to pay mortgage. We have to pay. And he's like, what's the point of having a synagogue if you don't have a mincha service? He says to the chairman. He says, are you crazy? You're supporting a synagogue. You can't even have a minyan for mincha. You have all these people here. He says, you should be ashamed. This is my BJX hero. He says, well, I got to say, I got to get a minyan. He says to the chairman's like, okay. He sees my friend is really, he's not gonna give up. He's Kodesh. He's real Kodesh. This is Kodesh, my friends. This is Kodesh. So he says, okay, pulls out a minyan, pulls out 10 guys, and they go into some corner, and it's 30 seconds left. They start the mincha, and they daven, and he says the Kaddish. And afterwards, my friend, he feels all guilty because he lambasted the chairman. He goes up to the chairman and says, listen, I want to apologize. I owe you an apology. And, I had to say Kaddish. I didn't mean to, it's not my business what you want to do really, but I just feel it's inappropriate, but I want to thank you. And the chairman looks at him and the chairman says, with tears in his eyes, don't apologize and don't thank me because I need to thank you. Tonight is my mother's 10th yahrzeit. That's the first time in 6 years that I said Kaddish for her. Can you imagine? My friend, my BJX hero, because he was Kodesh, Omin and Shemayim, for the first time in 6 years, her son, instead of playing bingo, said Kaddish.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org